Hey, it's Nathan and Sylvia from Oakcroft Films with another episode of Service Dog Tales. Yep, you read that title correctly. This week we're going to talk about one of the most traumatizing things that ever happened to Sylvia and I. Sylvia and me. Wait. Happened to me. Sylvia and me. Now before I start this, I'd just like to point out that everything worked out, everyone's okay, no one was injured, I wasn't at fault, I wasn't even driving. So this happened several months ago, and I think that enough time has passed to where, looking back, it is kind of funny. This was after the first time I had toured the Iowa campus with my girlfriend Jess and Sylvia, and we were on our way back home to Virginia. So a 15-hour car trip, and we were right on the border between West Virginia and Pennsylvania, right in the mountains. We actually passed the state line while this happened. Jess is driving, I'm sitting in the passenger seat, Sylvia's in the back seat, and I had my face down reading something. So all of a sudden, Jess starts screaming, so I look up, and there's this gas tanker in front of us, and a giant piece of it has just fallen off of it and is hurtling towards us. Looked like a bumper or something. So I'm freaking out. Jess looks over to the right lane because we're in the left lane and there's a car there, and she looks to the left shoulder and there's a solid wall there. So at this point she realizes we're hitting this thing no matter what. And this piece is huge. So she tries to position the car so that the piece goes directly under it and doesn't hit any of the tires, because if it hit one of the tires then that might make us flip. And we hit it and it basically acts like a ramp and launches us through the air. Like, it wasn't quite Dukes of Hazzard level, but we had some hang time. So while we're flying through the air, Jess is screaming her favorite four-letter word, which rhymes with duck, in this angry way. I am screaming my second favorite four-letter word, which rhymes with spit, in a I don't want to die way. And in that moment, there's a lot of self-reflection going on. It's kind of like that part in the movie where there's a pause and the main character looks at the camera and says, "You're probably wondering how I got here." So this is my internal monologue. This is actually happening. I might be about to die from a truck part on the border between West Virginia and Pennsylvania. This could be how it ends. Really? And poor Sylvia was sound asleep in the back, but as soon as this happened, she went from to... And then we hit the ground, and Jess is able to regain control of the car, and we're driving straight again, and she gets up behind the guy, and she starts honking her horn like, "You better stop!" And he does. We pull over to the side of the road, on the highway, in the mountains of West Virginia and Pennsylvania. And when we finally stopped, there was an interesting demonstration of how Jess and I cope with things differently. So she is angry. Like, she's saying, "I can't believe this. I'm going to have to pay for this. This car is only 2 years old." And I'm just like, can we just appreciate these mountains for a sec? Jess is a lot better at thinking ahead than me. I was just glad to be alive. So the guy gets out of his car and comes to check and see if we're all right. Apparently, it was a battery that he had recently installed that I guess the shop hadn't installed correctly. And so Jess gets out and they're talking to each other and exchanging insurance information. And while they're talking, I look back at Sylvia and she's kind of giving me this look like, "What the hell, man?" In the end, the guy acknowledged that it was his fault and his insurance paid for repairs, which ended up being like $7,000, which, by the way, is half the value of the car. The car was at least drivable enough to get us the rest of the way home. I guess the moral of the story is, if you get a battery installed on your gas tanker, make sure it's installed correctly. And the interesting thing about this story is that right after this happened, I made the final decision to go to Iowa with Jess and, of course, Sylvia. And I guess it was easier to make that decision at that point because once you've been through something like that with someone, the rest of it feels a little easier. So that's what we did. Well, that's today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, watch some of my other stuff. Have a wonderful day and drive safely. Please, drive safely.